The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and welcome back to the Potty Plotters Plotcast Podcast. This is episode 42 and I'm Julia.
And I was just going to say I'm Julia.
I'm not.
I'm
Stop
Elaine.
it.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, less gin in the morning. But, good morning indeed.
Good
yes,
morning.
I am
Lovely
still
to
Elaine.
see you. Lovely to see you, Elaine.
Sorry.
And we're here. So how do people get in contact with us? Tell us.
Right, well, I've been memorising this now.
God.
So thanks for that. Right. If I go wrong, just put your hand up.
Okay.
Alrighty? Gareth, put your hand down. Right, let's start. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Potty Plotters. Thank you, Julia, who's just put her thumb up. TikTok at The Potty Plotters. Oh, thumb back up again. Email us, naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk. One thumb, Gareth looking blank at me. Oh, Gareth now putting his thumb up. Or check out our website, pottyplotters.uk. 4 thumbs up and a round of applause. Thank you very much.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Well done. You may think that we sound a little bit echoey today, and the reason for that is that we've had to come into our community room. And why is that, Elaine?
Because we are the week after the dreadful floods that everybody or most people experienced somewhere around the country, and our county really did get full blast of it. And it's fair to say, Julia, I didn't know that water could be so ferocious on an allotment site.
Yeah.
Because I've seen things that I've never seen before.
I mean, it would be fair to say that it's higher than we've ever seen it on
Yeah.
our site. And, you know, every building has pretty much had some kind of damage to it because of the water levels in there. Even the chalet where I make the cups of tea, that's been well underwater. And it has come as a surprise to us for the fact that it's even lifted raised beds around site, and it's done, like you say, quite a lot of damage. We've lost crops, but, you know, we always look at it. It's not our lives, it's not our homes, and it's not our livelihoods. It's an allotment, and we'll recover, won't we, Elaine?
We definitely will. I mean, the car park looked like a lake when we came over last week. And again, I've never seen, and I want to start singing. I'm leaning on this table and that's a bit wobbly because although I was just going to say I was going to start and sing, I've never seen anything like it, but I haven't. But even in here, we've got sediment, that's the word, isn't it?
Yep.
That is all over the floor. So there's a lot of community work to be done, but also the polytunnel, the community polytunnel where we've recorded numerous times this last year, the water has risen about 12 inches, I would say.
Yeah.
And the shed on that plot is absolutely sodden. So I keep opening all the doors and the birds are still singing, Julia. So we just have to get on with it.
We'll carry on with it. And, you know, you kind of, I don't know how you learn to adapt your allotment for these conditions because there's nothing we could have done to have changed anything.
No.
But certainly if there are plots that are prone to flooding, there are things you can do to make changes. But this has just been completely beyond anything you could have done to improve your plots or change your plots, really. But, we'll carry on. It's been a mixed week, hasn't it, Elaine? Because we've had the issues around the flooding and our sympathies go out to everybody who's experienced that. But we've had some very good news, haven't we?
We have, and we've had over, I'm just going to do this myself because I keep asking for it. Oh, actually, we did get one last week. I don't know if you noticed, Julia. We had a little bit of a fanfare, but I can do this myself. Are you
Go on
ready?
then.
You just sort of make a circle with your
Yeah.
thumb and your finger. All right, okay. So you ready? Homemade, that is. That's what we like up here. We have had over 12,000 downloads since we started only in February.
That's amazing.
It's shocking is the word.
Thanks, Mother, for listening.
She must have it on repeat. Does she talk to Alexa or something, Julia?
I don't know.
Is she just not well? Is she trying to learn something?
But anyway, thank you to everybody who's been listening to us. It never ceases to amaze us, really.
And up and down the country and all over the world.
And in Australia.
Indeed.
Let's talk about Hazel in Australia.
Yes, Hazel this week has sent us, we've flowed. How seamless that almost was, but I pointed out what we've just done.
Yes.
Because we have had a message in from Hazel.
Have we?
Yeah, she
How
sent
funny
us a
is that?
video. Yeah, because she used to have all the problems with the peppers and the chilies that she was growing, and she'd sent us a little video. Well, she sent us another one, a new update, and saying how well everything is growing, and by crikey it is. So that's Australia for you.
Oh, good on you.
Yeah, get on with it, Hazel.
Well done.
Keep us updated as to how everything's growing.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Appropriate that we should be discussing this when we're not going to be planting these, definitely not on our site, but some sites may be planting these because, you know, they may not experience the problems we do. So overwintering peas and beans, Elaine.
Right, well, I have got a little story because I have got some here. These are Aquadulsa Claudia, which most people who grow any broad bean will know about these. Now then, I'm just going to reiterate that broad beans are the only bean with a bottom. So I've got a broad bean seed now in my hand, and if you turn it to one side, Julia, does that or does it not look like a bottom?
Is this classed as an explicit episode?
No, it's just one for you to remember.
Okay.
And when we've worked with children before, they love it when you talk naughty like this.
Yeah.
So what I always say is that if you can get kids to remember things, they'll never forget. And that's really important so that as they grow older, they'll pass the message on about broad beans. Simple as it may be, it will be there forever. But you are right with the floods, and I've learned lots of lessons with the bad weather over winter, etc. I don't overwinter broad beans.
No, and I don't either.
I just think, Julia, they're such hard work. However, I am going to say what to do with them because I have got a pack here. And what I would normally do if I wanted to plant these in a raised bed, and that's where I would plant them up here to get them out of the water and clear of the water on my plot, is I could actually plant them straight into the ground. And don't forget, they go in double the depth of the bean.
Right.
So that bean, what is that in decimalisation?
That's about centimetre.
Is it really?
Yeah. A centimetre in depth, so you plant it 2 centimetres.
Now, how can you get O and A levels, Julia, and still going back to 1970s, still not know what a centimetre is? It's embarrassing. You see, I'd say that's half an inch. Yeah.
About a centimetre. Well, it's 1 centimetre 0.25.
What?
Yeah.
Have you made that up?
Yeah,
No. Gareth's shaking his head.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in despair
So
or
1
what.
inch equals 2.5 centimetres, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's nodding.
Yeah, it's nodding, you see.
Okay.
Oh, this is
well
like a
done for
maths
that.
lesson, isn't it?
Yeah. I didn't like my maths teacher and I wasn't very good at it, but if I had Janice's listening, she was a genius at maths. Yeah, anyway. So what you need to do is bury this on its side, never on its back. Okay. So by that, I mean never goes flat. It's always the thinnest side. So it slips down like that. And the reason for that is...
so it doesn't rot in the ground, because on the big surface it will rot.
Exactly. Thank you. And all I would do is I'd plant these every 4 inches.
Right.
So they do get close together. But what I've found when I've planted these straight into the ground is at this time of year, mice and rats tend to take them.
Yes.
Now, I don't mind them taking one, but flipping it, they'll take a whole row on my plot.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who would be planting them now,
Yes.
who perhaps plant 2 or 3 in the same hole,
Yeah.
just as that kind of, they know that the mice are
Yeah.
going to get, so it's 1 for me, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for the mice, and then 1 for the rotting or whatever, just for good luck, really. So you could do that if you wanted to, just to hedge your bets. And, you know, as you say, we won't be doing it on our site because we wait until the spring really before we start planting ours. But on my old site, which was on the side of the hill, which we had no problems with, it was perfectly okay to actually plant them out at this time of year. And there are advantages to doing that, aren't there, Elaine?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, the main one for me is that you don't get black fly because you've planted them, you've got a stronger plant, and no black fly at all. That's what my experience is. And of course, you're about 4 weeks ahead of the game. So the ones that you'll plant in the spring, which we'll talk about, you will be ahead of those. So it can actually work, but sometimes you have to think about things, because the other thing is that they will need some protection from the snow.
Right.
Now, you might think, well, why bother? Well, why bother is really important, because if these plants have got to about 9 inches and then we get a load of snow, it'll actually snap them.
Yeah.
And it will break them, and then that's a whole waste. So what I would do is I would make a little net cage over them just to give them some protection, or even cloches if you've got some.
Yeah.
Not gut lashes, cut lashes.
So there's a lot of work really goes into them over winter, but you can also do, as well as talking about the broad beans, we can be doing overwinter peas as well, can't we?
Yeah.
But again, something we avoid on this site.
Yeah.
Wait until the spring, or early spring at least. But you can be doing something like meteor or douce de Provence. Those kind of peas can go in and you'll have an early crop with those. But think about your own conditions on your own site, in your own garden, and consider whether it's worth it or not.
Sometimes it's best just to have a rest, you know. Leave your soil alone for a bit.
That'd be nice.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Now I'm intrigued about this one, Elaine, because you put this on the list, and I don't know what goes on in your mind sometimes when you write these things. Wood on the plot. What are you talking about?
Well, I wonder whether or not wood on the plot being left over winter is a good thing or a bad thing. Now then, ironically, we're going back to all the water that we've had over the past few weeks. The biggest frog in the world, I did shout you and you did have a look at it, popped up yesterday. Now, it might be all the water, it came out to have a little peep, but is it a good thing? Should we leave some protection, like the odd plank or the odd piece of scaffolding or twigs, etc., out on the plot for toads, frogs and insects to bury themselves in and under?
Yes, I think it's nice to have a little area on the plot where you leave in old wood to rot down and decay, so that they have got a habitat there.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about raised beds and things when you were referring to this, but it is a good idea. It is a good idea. It's like a little nature area. I mean, I wouldn't want it all over my plot, but I steer away generally from having raised beds on my plot, and for the simple reason is that I find that wooden beds harbour things like slugs, and I don't like that. I don't want that. So all of my no dig, I initially set it up with kind of wood batons, but then once everything had settled, I removed them, and I've literally got compost, wood chip path, compost, wood chip path, and I tend to have less of a problem with slugs and pests like that.
And that is a really good thing to talk about, actually, because if you look now at this time of year in the winter, underneath, perhaps you've got some scaffolding boards that you made a raised bed out of or whatever, lift it and have a look what's attached to it, underneath it or near to it. And I tell you what, I've just picked a piece up this morning that had been knocked around with the flood that I hadn't noticed before, and it's covered in slugs. Covered, little black ones, and I know where they're going to go. And I'm telling you, they're not going to stay on my plot.
Don't you be chucking that wood on my plot. I know what you like.
Eric, plot 6, he won't even notice.
He won't, he doesn't listen, it's all right. So, the thing is with wood on the plots as well, I mean, your raised beds that you've made are really chunky. They're not going to move anywhere. They're really
don't
chunky.
do thin, Julia.
No, literally no sense at all. But, I mean, we do see people reusing a lot of things that they'll find lying around, but they're not going to last very long, are they? So think about... I suppose it depends on your budget and why are you using the wood?
That's the question. Why? Why are you using the wood? Why don't you just raise the bed simply like you've done on your plot, which is to dig the area and then mound it up?
Yeah.
And it looks so nice as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't harbour creatures.
Yeah, but we do like, talking about wood, we do like wood chip, don't we, Elaine?
We do. And I've noticed that there's a new pile of it that's been delivered today.
I know, and we're alone on the allotment at the moment, so get the wheelbarrow out because we need to be making some new paths, because we love to make paths out of the wood chip.
I like the smell of it.
I know, you skip through it, don't you? Well,
I've never been known to skip.
maybe that was the incorrect word, but we do get excited when we see it, because it's a free, it's byproduct for when they're fetching down the trees, but also if you lay yourself some wood chip paths, it degrades naturally over time, so it'll compost down, but also if the weeds do set in it, they're very easy to pull out.
I haven't got any weeds on my plot, I don't think.
Oh dear, have you got blinkers on? What have we been doing this week?
Well, getting cleaned up, and I think it's that time of year anyway, regardless of everything that's been happening locally. But what I've been doing as well is scrubbing down the greenhouse. The greenhouse glass is absolutely filthy, and that's really important to get rid of all the mingy bits. That's a Chesterfield colloquialism, actually. But get rid of it and start and clean it. And the other thing is, Julia, it's amazing as to how many toads and frogs you find in your greenhouse.
I know you think it's too hot for them.
But no, they haven't even got any deck chairs.
How do they even get in there?
I don't know.
Because we keep the greenhouse doors closed, but I don't see them when I leave the doors open.
Well, they must dig the way under, mustn't they?
They're very clever, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very resourceful. And we've also been out and about doing a few talks, as we do, shocking a few people. We had an interesting one in a church, didn't we?
We did, yeah. I wanted to do the pulpit business, and you told me not to, so I didn't.
No, you have to be respectful in a church,
I was,
Elaine.
yes. But it was so lovely to meet new people, and from a different area as well. That's dead important, isn't it? Just to get out and about and to spread the word about growing your own.
Yeah.
So easy to do, and people look mesmerised, shocked. I'm not sure which word it is, but yeah, they enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah.
Not sure if they're in rehab at the moment, but they're okay.
Yeah, and we've been back to the community plots, haven't we, helping out on those. So we've been finishing the doors. Yeah,
and that's been interesting, doing that and levelling them. Never levelled doors before.
Yeah, when we're talking about doors, we're talking about doors on the giant polytunnel we've been helping build.
Yeah, and it looks fantastic now. And made the plastic inserts as well for the
windows.
Now they look tremendous, well folded, and we didn't run out of staples.
No, well done us. And it's a new string to our bow. So erection specialists of greenhouses and now polytunnels.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Well, we've not done a recipe for a while, have we, Elaine? But I can see that you're already eyeing that pumpkin up, which we've got Tina to work on later. So tell us about what you're going to do.
Well, I would do pumpkin soup. So I know that Tina's going to be using it to make a flower arrangement, but I look at everything, food, obviously. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is just tell you how easy pumpkin soup is to make. The hardest thing I find is to get the skin off the outside. But if you roast it, then the pulp from inside comes out dead easy. So what I'm going to say is I slice my pumpkin.
Yes.
Okay. And I put big slices, big chunks onto baking trays and put them inside the oven.
Yeah.
Now then, I have it on quite hot, about 180, but I roast it and I keep turning the pieces. The amount of condensation that comes out is incredible. And I forgot to say, what you need to do is to scoop out the inner bit, the sort of spaghetti-y bit with all of the seeds and everything. It's a what?
I know what you're talking about. Anyway, carry on.
Right then, so I took all of that out, roast it, and then let it go cold or cool anyway, because you can't touch it because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And then scrape it all out. Now what I do is I fry an onion. And I do that in a big cauldron. And I do that in order. It is like a cauldron. It's like a witch's cauldron, mine is. Yeah. And then all I do is fry off that. And then I add cayenne pepper.
All right.
Yeah, to give it some spice. And then I put in now all of that pumpkin And I also add a couple of cooked potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Why?
Because I can. And it thickens it, although it generally is thick anyway. But I just think it gives it a nicer texture, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
And then just whiz it all round. And now I get at least 2 litres of vegetable stock.
Yeah.
And that's just simply a couple of stock cubes into boiling water, melt them down, put that in and let it boil for about, boil, I would say bubble, for at least 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes on the top of the hob.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I get Billy Blender out and I whiz the whole thing up and I get all the lumps out.
Yes.
Add lots of salt and pepper. And then what I do is I add creme fraiche to it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Gosh, you are extravagant, aren't you?
Not really, no. It's just cheaper than cream and it's really nice because it doesn't curdle and it freezes better as well.
Okay.
So I add a big dollop. When I say a big dollop, it's probably half a pint of it and just then stir it all through. And I tell you what, it's blooming lovely.
Ooh, hearty and warming in the
It
winter
is,
months.
yeah.
I like the sound of that.
And you can freeze it as well. So it is versatile and there's nothing better when you've been up here all day to go home to some soup and then you think, is that it?
Is that it? Is that all I've made? Can I just give you a little tip?
You can, but I won't listen necessarily.
Well, I was just going to save you a lot of time cutting your pumpkin into little slices. All I do is literally chop the whole pumpkin in half, scoop out the middle bit, like you say. Don't leave the skin on it and everything, and then just put it in a dish in the oven, cover it in tinfoil like you do, and then when it's cool, you can just scoop it out like that. You don't need to chop it into pieces, just scoop it out. So it saves a lot of chopping. Is what I'm saying, which is, of course, well, as you know, shouldn't even be allowed near a knife, so the less chopping, the better.
Do you want to do this feature in future?
No, not really. I just wanted to help you, but clearly it's not appreciated.
The Potty Plotters Plotcast with simple recipes for gluts and guts.
Well, it's fair to say we've got one of our favourite guests in today who's turned up to give us a bit of a demonstration with these old pumpkins, Elaine.
They're not old. What are you on about? But what I'm pleased to say is that this person has come dressed as a pumpkin. And not many of our guests actually join into this extent, do they? Never.
It's all been thought about, darlings.
You look absolutely fabulous, Tina. She does, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
And there will be a video clip, so you'll be able to see how fabulous she looks.
It's the pumpkins on top of your pumpkin hat that do it.
That's right. It's just,
and you've
just for
actually
you.
got pumpkin-coloured lippy on as well. That is just amazing. Have you made that yourself? Because it looks like it.
Very much so, yes. You know, it was a selection this morning of lipsticks until I got orange. Anyway, ladies, good morning.
Good morning, indeed. It's Tina from Green Blooms. Don't we just love her?
Oh, we love Tina.
clever.
We love her. And you caught her on a very opportune moment when she was on a little holiday having a little drink and you said, can you come in and do a demo for us?
Yeah, and it's so easy when she's had a drink to make her do anything. So here she is. And all that we're going to do is ask you to create something out of nothing.
That's absolutely fine, of course. That's what I do for a living.
That's good.
So you've given me a lovely bright orange pumpkin that literally does match my hat right now. And we've got some gorgeous dried blooms here. We've also got some fresh that can go in it. Shall I just sort of give you an idea of what you can do around the house with pumpkins?
Yeah. What can you do around the house with the pumpkin, Tina?
Well, to be fair, you mainly eat them, don't you?
To be fair, you stick them outside your front door.
Absolutely, that's right. It's only in recent times we've started to stick flowers in and things like that. But, you know, really what they're a foodstuff. So what I would say is that if you are going to create something with pumpkins, whether it's with the children and you're carving jack-o'-lanterns out of the front and putting candles or whatever inside, use the insides if you can, because we don't like waste, do we, ladies?
Not at all.
There's plenty of food in them, isn't there?
There is, that's right. And we were just talking about spicy pumpkin soup. Absolute favourite of mine.
I am conscious that it is a foodstuff, so should we be displaying them inside the house? Won't they rot and smell?
Not usually, and what I would say is that if you are going to put flowers inside of fruit stuff, any sort of fruit or vegetable will deteriorate your flowers quicker. So if you're putting fresh flowers inside, it's all to do with enzymes, and I'm no scientist, don't get me wrong, but if you are, whether it's displaying flowers with fruit in it, so you can imagine. A little example would be if you had a bouquet of flowers and you put a bunch of bananas next to it, your flowers will probably live only at least half the actual normal life. So our flowers would last 2 to 3 weeks easily, fresh cut flowers. If you put a bunch of bananas next to them, they're probably only going to last a week, if that.
Right.
So it's just like any other fruit and vegetables, really. So I think most people know you wouldn't store certain fruit and vegetables together because the enzymes give off and it kills them first. So within that, a pumpkin is very similar. So what I would always say is once you've taken your lid off and once you've scooped out all your insides and it's clear, line it. It's a really, really important thing, and I say this to everyone. People that are trying things at home, we're going to do a fully biodegradable one today. So it's got a liner inside of it with a dish at the bottom that's got water, and then what we've done, we've scrunched up some chicken wire, and the chicken wire will just give the hold to the flowers, so where I'm placing them, they will stay. Now, a lot of other people will use a block of Oasis. At the moment, they aren't fully biodegradable, so people tend to shy away from them, but they are the easiest thing. You get a block of Oasis, they're about £1 from the range or Hobbycraft or your local florist. You soak it in water, you pop it inside and you stick your flowers in. So it is easier, a lot easier. However, you've got to be aware then that Oasis has gone inside of that pumpkin, so don't take that pumpkin up into your fields to leave it for some cows or deer, because that Oasis actually it's not good for animals, obviously. However, our pumpkin will be fully biodegradable, but most importantly, as I say, have a lining in, whether it's a piece of an old carrier bag, a piece of kitchen foil, anything like that. All it will do, it will protect those stems, certainly of fresh flowers. Not so much of an issue with dried flowers because they're already dead, let's be fair. But with fresh flowers, if you want them to last, make sure you've got that lining in there, and they will last at least a good week or two. It's with anything. If you've got your heating on full blast, if you go and put your pumpkin on top of your radiator, it's going to melt within about a day. You're going to have dead soppy pumpkin all trickling down. It'll look very nice for Halloween, to be fair. So it's got that awful look to it, but so you just be aware of where you put it. Again, fresh flowers this time of year, and with dried flowers, you can pop them outside. I mean, I don't know which area everybody lives in. You're a bit rough, aren't you, Elaine, where you are? So, if you're living in a rough area, don't expect it to be there when you wake up in the morning. But, it still looks nice outside your front door.
For 5 minutes. And what about putting a jam jar in there then?
Absolutely.
Because I've got some jam jars here.
Yeah.
And what would I do with that then? Put it inside the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Take the lid off, obviously. And then what? Put some
just
water in
pop some water in and just make sure that the stems that you're putting in are into that water, because if they are fresh flowers, again, totally different with dried flowers. We're going to use both. If you have got fresh flowers, they need that water source, because as much as we condition them and they have a good drink for 24, 48 hours before they go out, within a day or so your fresh flowers will be dead. So the fresh cut flowers, they need that water source. Now, I have seen some pumpkins that have been done, and people have literally, it's really interesting to see how creative people get. They will get a plant, just like from Morrison's or wherever you get a plant from. They literally just pop it in and then put some decorations on the outside, and they leave it like that. So because the plant is already in its own soil, doesn't need anything else.
That's a good idea, actually.
It is. Yeah, it is.
A cyclamen would look really pretty in that.
Really. And when you start looking at all the things that you can have, when it comes to Halloween, the things that you can pop in there, you can add these actually into a potted plant. So don't think you just pop your potted plant in. You can then start adding on as well. You can get really creative. So there's lots of options depending on on what you want to do. But equally, with your potted plants, you obviously can take them out of your pumpkin once your pumpkin starts to go a bit mushy, and you pop it in your garden or in your allotment.
Brilliant.
Fabulous.
I like that. So you're going to show us what to do then, Tina?
I can do. Just before we start, what I will say is if you are going to do pumpkins with your family or yourself at home or anything like that, think about where it's going to go. Because if it's going to go in the centre of your table, you're going to have friends around, you're going to have some chocolates and all of that. You want that to be an all-around design. So you want your pumpkin to have flowers all the way around it so that whoever sat where have got a nice show. If, however, you're going to put it, say, in the corner on the floor in your, by the front door, and only the front is seen, we call that a front-facing design. So think about that. There's no point putting flowers or things at the back that nobody's going to see. So I would say whatever you do, when you're doing any sort of design of anything, whether it's pumpkin or anything else like that, just make sure you know where you're putting it and what's it for.
Yeah, I've brought some. In fact, I'm going to get up. I am. I'm going to get up because I brought some stuff.
So what have you got in your bag, Elaine?
Right, well, I've had all of these out, which are pumpkins, and I know they make a lot of noise next to this microphone, so I've got to be very careful. But some weeny ones, no bigger than a 2p piece or a
£2 coin, maybe?
£2 coin.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen one of them in a few years. And some little tiny ones that I thought you could actually put to use somewhere.
Absolutely.
And if you want to know what Tina actually does with all of this, head over to our YouTube channel.
Hint and tip, Elaine, about seed saving from pumpkins and squashes.
Do you save yours?
No.
Oh.
I should tell you why.
Yeah.
I will tell you why. I save them to eat them. I'll eat the pumpkin seeds,
right.
But I don't save them because there's a very high risk of cross-pollination with pumpkins and squashes if you grow them close together. Because if you think about it, the flowers are exactly the same size. So there's the high risk of cross-pollination. And of course, if you going to produce something that you don't know what you're getting, the problems that you have with cucumbers and bitterness, that can happen if we've cross-pollinated.
So what you're saying is the hint and tip is don't save them.
Don't, unless, this is a tip for next year, unless you go out and pollinate your own pumpkin flowers, and then you actually close off the flower, and that will mean that is a pure pumpkin seed.
Top-notch advice, no Latin included. The Potty Plotters Podcast.
Well, thanks again for listening to us, and we will go back onto the plots, but thankfully we've already picked the pumpkins, haven't we? So are you going to go and make some soup now, Elaine?
Well, I could do, yeah, but you see, Tina's stuffed it, hasn't she? Literally. So I'll have to
get another one.
Yeah, all right then. Well, we've got plenty to go at.
Yeah.
I've got some miniature ones as well.
I've got those beautiful crown prints.
Okay, I wouldn't mind a crown print.
I can let you have one.
Anyway, all right then. Well, what are we doing next time?
Not a clue. You've not written it yet, have you?
Oh right, no, I haven't. No. So, well, anyway. That's it, isn't it?
Okay.
See you again.
Bye.
Draw.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.